executor, which is people were tied to the wheel where they suffer by breaking their limbs.
This would happen to you if you were a bad performer, die of starvation.
That sentence reserved to witches.
You were a single mother. They would do this to you. These are instruments got the brass of church. That's scary, isn't it? Hello everyone, welcome to my channel again, once more here in Venice. My favorite time of the year, during Carnival, of course. And I was very intrigued to see this exhibition here at the Palazzo delle Prigioni, the palace of the prison, to show you how people were tortured endlessly to death by the same inquisition in the past here in Venice. And we're gonna go right now and walk into that exhibition. There used to be a prison during that time and all those times, and I hope to enjoy it. We are at the Palazzo delle Prigioni, a palace of prison, is where people were tortured endlessly to death for the crimes they committed by the Saint Inquisition here in Venice.
The building, which is located in a very central location, was designed by the architect Antonio da Ponte in 1589 and was completed around 1614. The palace housed one of the oldest magistrates of the Republic of Venice. This important judicial body was composed of 6 members who represented the districts of the city and who carry out police and surveillance tasks, as well as instructions of the trials. Between the 15th and 17th centuries, it goes up to the 18th century, the terrible tribunal of the Inquisition condemned to death many people accused of evil spells, magical arts and superstitions, as well as any act that was considered a crime during that time. And criminals that were sentenced to death and execution had to have one of the 7 works of mercy before their execution. The members of the confraternity dressed up in from head to toe in a black tunic and a hood that only revealed their eyes, and on his left he holds the image of the cross of Christ. On his chest there is an image of the crucifix, and on the mouth is the Mater Dolorosa. This model of a carriage reflects the typical vehicle of the 17th century used for the transport of prisoners and criminals captured by the cops. This vehicle can be defined as the ancestor of modern cell phones supplied to the police. In this room is where justice was managed by the lords of the night, the terrible Venetian police who guard the crimes and brought the offenders in front of the central hall. Here we have one of the most very important figures of justice during execution, the executor, which is a professional figure who has the task of carrying out death sentences. Traditionally, he was a male and he wore a black hood, tunic to mitigate the blood spatter. Here we have the breaking wheel, which was a death penalty like crucifixion, and these people were tied to the wheel where they suffer by breaking their limbs. Here we have the famous Giacomo Casanova, accused of dabbling into the magic and the occult, was incarcerated but managed to escape. Here we got the Cradle of Judas. It was used to obtain confession to the interrogation. And of course, we cannot forget about the plague doctor. It was the purpose of the mass was to keep away orders, which at that time were considered the trigger of epidemics. And here we have the typical death sentence reserved to witches, the stake.
Come on and follow me. I'm gonna take you up to some of the cells of this prison. Is one of the prisoner cells, and I will show you how it looked like. Come in. What is called the stanza del tormento, or torment room. Check it out. This room they're about to enter is called stanza della torture, or torture room. You're gonna see more artifacts they use to torture people. This is what happened to you if you were a bad performer or a bad musician. This is where you humiliated and punished. It's an instrument used for humiliation. It was used for troublemakers or to punish musicians guilty of bad performances, made of a metal or wooden body in the shape of a flute. The ring of the end was tightened behind the victim's neck, and the fingers were inserted into the appropriate vice in the attitude of a player, were tightened according to the pleasure of the executor. Of these scary torture devices, we have a beautiful map of Venice, as you can see. How Venice looked like during those times that haven't really changed since I think the 18th century. It's exactly the same, almost exactly the same, so it's amazing. Used it until the end of the 18th century. The condemned was locked up in the left to die of starvation. Often the victims had previously been tortured, thus exposed. It would serve as a edifying warning, to others. Differently in Venice, it was mainly used for blasphemers. The condemned was suspended in the Piazza San Marco, which is right there, and in a wooden cage called the Sheva. The duration of the punishment varied depending on the crime, but it was never fatal. So because they wanted to suffer, this is the whole point. All these artifacts is not just to kill them; it's to make people suffer to death. This room that we're about to enter is called the Stanza del Tormento, or torment room. It's where people were tortured by the inquisitor, which is sitting down over there, and we'll place in a share all other artifacts you're about to see right now. as you see right now, are instruments of various shape. It's used to control prisoners during transfers to prison or when transferred to another places. The toothed ring around the neck allow the prisoner to be subjected to one's orders and to transfer with caution, avoiding painful injuries. Why? Because they don't want her to die yet. As I said, the point of this was to make people suffer to that. Okay, in this other room is called cell delle, which is a woman's cell. And you see how horrible it was. This artifice called bitter of iron gag is a torture instrument known since the Renaissance, made of metal similar to the horse bit, but with the presence of a sharp screw that is stuck into the victim's tongue. This forced the condemned to swallow his own blood so as to prevent him from speaking any word outside of a simple verse. These other instruments got the brass torture, or witch's spider. This inquisitional torture of a woman also uses a special brass torture made of iron, shaped like pincers. If you were a single mother, they would do this to you. That's scary, isn't it?
Well, that's it for today. Do you think the world was safer back then because of the harsh punishment for crime? But if you think about it, how many innocent lives were lost for things that today wouldn't even be considered a crime?